Hello, this is Bill Webb, aka Bill Indiana. Today I'm going to count down the 10 games I'm most excited to pick up in 2022. They're games that some of them are going to be retail releases, some of them are going to be Kickstarters that should deliver in 2022. As we know in the world these days, some of them may not make it, but I've tried to pick ones that have at least a reasonable chance of arriving in this calendar year. And so if you're curious to see what my most anticipated games of 2022 are, stay tuned. So as I said, I try to pick games that I think have a really good reasonable chance of delivering in 2022. And so I've got a couple of honorable mentions that I think probably won't make it this calendar year. One is Ahau, Rulers of Yucatan. This is one I've been following for a while, and the Kickstarter project got delayed a couple times. It's supposed to come out now, I think February 22nd. And so with its Kickstarter just being in February this year, I feel like there's probably little to zero chance that this is going to actually deliver in 2022. But it is a game I wanted to mention because I'm very excited about it and just thought I'd put it on your radar in case you're looking for a game to back. The art on this one just looks incredible. I think the Euro-style game of combining worker placement and resource management is just right up my alley. I've been, like I said, following it on Facebook, and the publisher Aperon Games has really, or maybe Ape Iron, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. They've been really proactive in showing a lot of information about the game. So very excited about this one, but probably won't actually arrive till 2023. Another one is Trekking Through History by Underdog Games. And I like trekking the national parks, and I like even better trekking the world. And I had a chance to play test a very early version of this Trekking Through History and really enjoyed it. So I'm excited to see how they were able to turn it into a final game months later. And I think this one is also coming to Kickstarter in February, I think maybe February 1st. So again, the chances of it being completed and distributed, we receive it in 2022, probably not very strong. Both of these are listed as 2022 games, but I have a feeling they're going to be 2023 when they deliver. But both I'm very interested in, and so I thought I would at least mention them just in case we get lucky and they come this year. The next one is on my honorable mention kind of for a different reason. That is Risk Shadow Forces. It's the newest Risk Legacy game. And I never played the original Risk Legacy because I haven't even picked it up because most of my family doesn't really like Risk. And most of my family doesn't like combative war style games. But I've always wanted to. And so this is one that I really know I'll want, but I don't know if I'll ever buy. Because one, you need 3 to 5 players. And most of the time it's my wife and she wouldn't be interested in this game. So probably won't be picking it up unless I find a game group that's really excited about it that would want to do this with me. I did find a game group that we're going to be going through Gloomhaven this year. And so potentially after Gloomhaven, if this one's, coming out, maybe we'll eventually be willing to try something. I don't even know if they would be interested in this game or not. But Risk Shadow Forces is one that I'm interested in, but unless my life situation changes, probably won't have the game group to play with. So might not ever make it to my household. All right, now let's get into the top 10. What are the 10 games that I think have a really good chance of coming in 2022, and I am very excited about them. Number 10 is Exit the Game, The Lord of the Rings, Shadows over Middle-earth. I am a huge Lord of the Rings junkie. I have so many Lord of the Rings games. I have all the movies, extended versions. I've watched them multiple times. I can't wait for the Amazon series to come out. I enjoy exit games. The downside is that when you're done, you're done. They're disposable games, which they're not really very expensive typically, but I'm disappointed by the fact of all the ones I've played, every time you play them, it's fun, you have a great time, but then when you're done, it's gone. You can't pass it on, you can't play it again. So that's why it's at 10. Also, I know that it's supposed to come out, actually, I think fairly soon in Europe, but not in English. And so I don't know if the English version will get here. Last year, one of my most anticipated games was Adventures of Robin Hood, and I just posted a review of that yesterday. So if you want to check that out, you can. But this is one I think it might be like that. It was Robin Hood actually was supposed to come out in 2021, but didn't really make it till 2022 to the US with the English version. So I'm hopeful that this might make it to the US in 2022 in English, but there's a little bit of hesitancy of that, so it's number 10 for both of those reasons, because it's a one and done game, and there's a slim chance it might not make it to me this year. Number 9, First Empires. This is a game that's by Eric Vogel and Sandcastle Games, and I don't know much about Eric Vogel or any of his games, but I really like Res Arcana, and Sandcastle Games brought me that game. The theme of this one sounds really good too. I love this art of the picture on the game board here. or not the game board, the game box. I tend to be really attracted to Asian style themes, and this shows some of that, although not just Asian. And so I'm pretty excited about that. If I go back here to telling you more about the game, but that's when I first look at it, it kind of has that vibe. But then when you read down here, it sounds really interesting. What if the world history unfolded differently? What if great empires of our history had never come into being? What if the forgotten civilizations had passed into posterity in their place? Or sorry, what if other forgotten civilizations had passed into posterity in their place? The defeated could have been the victors, and the colonizers could have been the colonized. After all, empires are won and lost on the roll of the dice. And so I thought this sounds pretty interesting with the meeples and the dice rolling, and you're going to be setting it up differently in terms of the rounds depending on how many players there are. And so just kind of creating an alternate history sounded pretty intriguing to me. So First Empires is number 9. Number 8 is Dead Reckoning. It's a John D. Clare game that was on Kickstarter, and it's by AEG. This is one that I came really, really close to backing, but it was one that just the timing and the cost, I just picked other games instead to put my money towards. But this one is one that I'm very excited about. It's got the card crafting that Mystic Vale has, and then it's got this pirate theme, which is pretty cool. I saw a few playthroughs during the Kickstarter project. You're going to be personalizing your ship, you're going to be crafting your crew, you're going to be crafting the cards with different layers. It's got a tower that you throw these cubes through, so this cube tower. Pretty interesting gameplay, I think, too, from what I saw during the Kickstarter process. And so this is one that I'm highly anticipating. Here it just shows that clear card, how you're going to layer them and craft them over the process of the game. Here's a quick picture of the overall, what comes in the game. And those boxes, these are, I think, some expansions. Those brown boxes you saw are the ones that hold the different storylines, I think. And here's some of the ships you'd be sailing around with. There's some of the components, probably with the Kickstarter version. And then here's I think this is the tower, the cube tower. You drop the cubes down here and they come out here and kind of tell you the outcome of the battle. So Dead Reckoning is one that I think just looks really intriguing. The pirate theme isn't necessarily one of my favorite, but it's also not one that turns me off. And I think the card crafting sounds really cool. The cube tower sounds really cool. So Dead Reckoning is one that I'm very excited for. It also does play solo, so if I got it and the rest of my family wasn't that interested in it, I could still at least play it. All right, so that is number 8. Number 7 is Astro Kings. Astro Kings is a cooperative deck building game that I think is like a reimagining of Aeon's End by Indie Boards and Cards. And I just recently played Aeon's End, was taught by some friends who donated the game to us. And we are going to try to do Aeon's End Legacy this year. My wife and I are going to try to play that whole Legacy game this year as part of our 10 by 10 challenge. I also posted that video a few days ago. If you want to check that out, I'll put a link up above. So Astro Knights seems like a reimagining of that with a space setting and then also some tweaks and improvements on the Aeon's End gameplay. And we really liked Aeon's End a little bit that we played so far. So this one definitely intrigues me. Definitely want to check this one out when it comes. And I've heard a lot of other people very excited about this one as well. So it's climbed a little bit up in the rankings also because of that excitement I've heard from some other content creators and game players. All right, number 6 is Ronin Warrior. This is one, it's from Bean Boom LLC. Kenny Nguyen. I'm not sure how I've never been able to pronounce that name. I've had students with that last name and it doesn't come off my tongue for some reason. And Thomas Den. This one sounds really intriguing because it's kind of 2 games in one. You've got Ronin Warrior Vengeance, which is solo and cooperative campaign style, and you've got Ronin Warrior Rising, which is a strategic war game. So that really caught my attention. Again, the Asian theme and the Ronin, Daimyo, and samurai, that whole vibe, that whole theme, that whole setting really intrigues me. And the fact that you could play this in so many different ways and even potentially carry some of the gameplay from one style over into the other as you read through this is what it sounds like. So very interesting, very intriguing. Definitely looking forward to seeing when this game's going to come to fruition and learning more about it as it comes more into light. So Ronin Warrior, number 6. Number 5, I've heard a lot of other people talking about, and that's Dice Realms. It's a Tom Lehman game from Rio Grande Games. This will be putting this one out. Thomas Lehman is the one who brought us Roll for the Galaxy, Race for the Galaxy, and for me, my favorite of the 3 is Res Arcana. And in this one, it's going to be crafting dice. So you get all these different dice faces, and you're going to be putting the dice faces onto the dice and upgrading them. Basically, you're going to be leveling up your dice as the game plays. So I thought of like Divinus, sounds like that's going to be a little bit like that with stickers, but this I think has more of these pieces that you're going to be clipping in. There's another game, I haven't played it. I'm trying to think of the name off the top of my head. It's not coming to mind, but I think there's another game that crafts dice, I think, in a similar way. But with Thomas Lehman, I'm so in love with Res Arcana. I thought, wow, I want to try this out. And definitely check out what he's got going here. The dice crafting idea sounds really cool. Looks like it's going to have really interesting components. And like I said, a lot of content creators I've heard talking about this game, you can see how the pieces will pop in and out of this. So your faces of the dice will be changing as the game goes. Really intriguing, very excited to see how this comes together. And because I've enjoyed Res Arcana so much, I just learned Res Arcana in 2021, and I really come to love it so much. I'm very excited to see what Thomas Lehman has done here with Dice Realms, and it is my number, what is it? It is my number 5. And number 4 is Familiar Tales. This is by Plaid Hat Games. Jerry Hawthorne is creating this game. And Familiar Tales, you're going to be playing these wizard familiars. It's a deck building cooperative fantasy game. And you play for 1 to 4 players. And you're going to be actually trying to raise and bring this fantasy child basically to life, this sort of Disney almost character child to life, prince or princess kind of a deal. And you're raising the child through the phases of life as the wizard familiar. And Plaid Hat Games brought us Forgotten Waters, which is one of my favorite games of 2020, and another game that we're going to try to play as much through as we can this year on our 10 by 10 challenge. So very excited about that, Forgotten Waters, and we've really loved it. We love the voiceover acting that comes through on the app, and it sounds like that's going to be a very similar thing here with Familiar Tales. The theme of this one doesn't appeal to me as much, but I've loved Forgotten Waters so much that I feel like if they're tweaking that and improving it, and fantasy theme's always a little bit fun, I think this theme might actually draw in other of my family members more than Forgotten Waters would. And so it's got this spiral book where you'll be flipping through and experiencing different adventures on different pages of the book, I think very much like Forgotten Waters, for those of you that are familiar with that. I did a review of Forgotten Waters a couple of years ago, so I can post a link above if you want to know more about that game. But it looks really cool, sounds really intriguing in terms of the cooperative nature of it. And the storyline's interesting. You're trying to be these wizard familiars helping this child progress through their lives. So very interesting. And so that is number 4 on my list of most anticipated games for 2022. And then number 3, Endless Winter, Paleo Americans. This one's kind of like Dead Reckoning in that I was just, I'm going to back it, I'm going to back it, I'm going to back it when it was on Kickstarter, and I just kept bailing out on it and never quite followed through with clicking the button. But this is a Stan Kordonsky. He's of Dice Hospital, Rurik, Lockup fame, just some great games with great acclaim. And this one just looks really intriguing with the theme being set in this sort of prehistoric area, the Paleo Americans. It's got deck building and worker placement, so it's kind of in that genre of Lost Ruins of Arnak and Dune Imperium. A lot of people compared those 3 when they were all being talked about at the same time. The theme of this one actually inspires me a little bit more than Lost Ruins of Arnak, and maybe equally with Dune Imperium. And the quality of the components, I'm sure that a lot of these pictures are from the Kickstarter components. It'll be maybe a little bit better than the retail version, but just that combo of deck building and worker placement. I haven't actually played Dune Imperium yet, but we really like Lost Ruins of Arnak and like that combination. And so I'm excited to try this one. This is 3rd on my list of most anticipated. I didn't back it, but I think you can still late pledge it. And I keep going back to that page. Is it still available? Should I late pledge it? Should I late pledge it? I'm not sure. I might do that, or I may just wait and see if I can pick up a retail version or trade for it perhaps once people start receiving theirs. I think it is supposed to deliver in 2022. So Endless Winter is one that I'm very excited for. Probably will find some way to pick it up if I don't end up late pledging it here, unless the late pledges have been turned off. I'll have to check that. But yeah, Endless Winter is my number 3. Number 2 is Unconscious Mind, Johnny Pack, Laskus Yoma, and Antonio Zax. And it's got Andrew Bosley and Vincent Dutray art by Fantasia Games. And the art just looks incredible. And I'm really intrigued by this one. The theme of this one is so unique. It's basically set in, I think, the early 1900s in the Freudian psychotherapy era. And basically you're trying to treat people as a psychiatrist and get into their dreams and their unconscious mind. And I'm really curious how this is going to be turned into a board game. And I imagine the art by Vincent Dutray and Bosley are going to just be incredible. Their art is always incredible, and just looking at some of these pieces here, I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work. Is it going to be sort of Dixit style with this art, telling their dreams? And I thought just having two different, really well-known and incredible artists helping to make the art for one game, that's got to be an interesting challenge, but also bring, I think, some really unique perspective. If you're familiar with their art, you can probably even looking at these pictures, like I'm pretty sure this is a Bosley art picture here. It looks like his style. And so, yeah, it'd be interesting to see, can you tell from the art who the artist was? And I don't know, just the theme sounds really intriguing. I've never heard of a game anything like this. And so going back to the original page here, we've got, it says, as a member of the Society and Unconscious Mind, a game that blends worker placement, engine building, multi-use cards, and action programming, your goal is to master therapeutic techniques. So yeah, I don't know how that's going to come out, but yeah, I've enjoyed a lot of things from Johnny Pack, and so very excited about that. And I know the art's going to be terrific. So really intrigued by this one. That's why it's so high on my list. I just can't wait to see how this turns out. And that is Unconscious Mind, my number 2 most anticipated game for 2022. And my top most anticipated game is Now or Never. And this was one of my most anticipated for 2021, but it just never made it. And so I haven't lost my enthusiasm for it, so it's still at the top. I've seen some people in other parts of the world starting to receive their copies. I've heard that here in the US, we might not be getting them until late spring, even early summer. So I hope it's not that long, but I'm very excited. I was able, about a year ago now, to play pre-test or play test this online with Bryce and Allison from Better Half Reviews, and really enjoyed that playtest. And I'm sure it's changed a lot since then. It's over a year ago, but I've really enjoyed the Ryan Lockett games that we've played, and I really enjoyed the playtest of the version that he had at that time. It's got story mode where you can take that narrative to the gameplay. It's also got regular standard mode if you just want to do one-shot gameplays. As always with Ryan Lockett, it's terrific art, and Ryan and Mallory Lockett both just create great storylines. We loved the playtesting. I have been excited about it for over a year, and so I just can't wait for this one. That's why it's my most anticipated. Having had a chance to play it, knowing how much I enjoyed it, even in that early form, I can't wait to get the final form here. I did pre-order it months and months and months ago, hoping to receive it anytime, but hearing with all the shipping issues, it may be a few more months away still. But yes, this is my number 1 most anticipated game for 2022, Now or Never by Ryan Lockett and Red Raven Games. So there you have it. Those are the top 10 games of 2022, the games I can't wait to get my hands on, I'm so excited about, and hope they will come this calendar year. But I didn't stop there. If you look down in the description below, I've got at least 40 or so other games. Some of them are reprints that I didn't include here, or expansions, reboots, or reimaginings of older games that I didn't include in this list. Others I think are probably not going to arrive till 2023 because they're just kickstarting or coming to GameFound in this calendar year. Others are ones that I'm really interested in but just didn't quite make my top 10. So if you want to see beyond the list that I've shared with you, look down below. I've got links to everything and you can check those games out. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up to show me that. And if you wouldn't mind subscribing to the channel, that would be terrific as well. If you have questions about any of the games that I've discussed here, or if you're excited about some of the games that I shared, leave those comments below. If there's other games that you're really excited about that you can't wait to get your hands on in 2022, let me know about those in the comments as well. I'll look forward to reading the comments down below. As always, thanks for watching. This is Billy Indiana, signing off.